Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The honorable lecturer and my beloved classmate, and the most important is that the person who is going to watch my video. Hello, guys. Well, on this opportunity, I'm going to explain you guys about my learning video. The topic is learning grammar using stepping the five stairs A and B. Now, without wasting the time, let us begin the discussion. Now, before we are going to do grammar, we must know what is stepping the five stairs. Now, this is the teaching technique to teach language learner grammar with a fun and easily. Now, I'm going to tell you why it's fun and easily later. And the reason why the name is stairs is because this technique focuses the process of how the stair will help the language learner to produce English sentence grammatically correct. Now, in this video, I'm going to discuss about five tense only. Now, the first is simple present tense. Second is simple continuous tense. The third is simple past tense. Fourth is simple present perfect tense. And the last is model tense. Now, each sentence contains positive, negative, interrogative, YQ or what, why, where, when, who, question, and YQ, who. Our first discussion is about stair A, and the first is simple present tense. Without wasting the time, let us begin the discussion. Our first topic is about present tense. Now, in present tense, remember when I say learning grammar is fun and easily, it's because in every sentence, in every tense, there is always a simple, right? A simple name. Now, simple in Bahasa Indonesia, it's gampang, and that is why learning grammar is fun and easily. Now, as you can see, there is a stairs, right? Now, in stair A or noun phase one in high school, we used to call it subject, but in stair technique, we are going to call it noun phase one. And verb, we already know what verb is, and in present tense, we are going to use verb as per or as. Now, noun phase two. Now, phase two, when we are in a high school, we used to call it object. Now, in this technique, we are going to call it noun phase two. Now, we are going to skip the fourth stairs, and the last is adverb of MPT. Now, M is for manner, P is for place, and T is for time. Now, what you will say, like, can we put it in not in order? No, you cannot, because you need to put it in order. For example, if the am is in the second word, you need to put it on first. If the P is the first word, you need to put it in the second word, because there is a order. You cannot change the order, because remember, in this technique, learners need to know how to produce English sentence grammatically correct. Now, let us begin our discussion. For example, let's see. I already make an example is Leon menjual kue bolu di pasar setiap hari. Now, as you can see, guys, there the example in each word there is a code down below. Now, remember when in verb there's two type of thing that we are going to use, that is singular noun and plural noun. Now, if the word is singular, is one, and the plural have many. Now, remember, if singular, we are going to use verb s or es, but in plural, we are going to use verb only. Now, in my example, I'm using a word of verb es, or basically it's singular noun. Now, NP1. Now, NP1, as I told you, it's subject. Now, Leon is a subject and Joel is a verb, because I'm using singular noun, which is it will be verb or s or es. Now, Pueblo is the object. Now, the object is what is Leon doing, and setiap hari is ever of time, because it tells what he is doing every day. Now, di pasar is the place that he is doing. Now, As you can see, AO adverb of time third first and adverb of place two. Now remember, you cannot change the order. If the order is scrambled, you need to fix it. Now the first thing you're gonna do is that you're going to make the adverb of place is the second and adverb of time is the third. Remember the order. Always remember the order. Now the result is going to be Leon sells muffin in the market every day. Now we are going to enter the negative one. Now the difference is in the verb only. When we are using a singular noun, there is a dozen when it's negative. And if we are using a plural noun, it will be don't. Now, since I'm using a singular noun, it will be dozen. Now, Leon doesn't sell muffin in the market every day. Let us move on into the interrogative. Now, the interrogative, the differences is only that there is an auxil. Now, what is auxiliary? Auxiliary in Bahasa Indonesia is kata bantu. Now, our we'll say kata bantu is does or doesn't if you use singular noun, and if you use plural, it is do or don't. Now, let us see our example is that apakah Leon menjual kata kue bolu setiap hari di pasar? Now, since I use singular noun, it will be does Leon or maybe doesn't Leon sell muffin in the market every day? Yes, like that. Our word is YQ or WH question. Now in WH question, there's so many kinds. If you know 5W, it is what, why, where, when, and who. That is the WH question. Now in WH question, the only difference is that you put the WH question in the front before auxiliary. That is the only differences. Now let's see our example. Di mana Leon menjual kue bolu setiap hari? We're going to ask the question. Now the answer is, where does Leon sell muffin every day? Now we know in the previous question that Leon is selling his muffin in the market, but since WH question that I choose is where, I need to erase the market because I'm asking the question, and the answer is in the market. Now where does Leon sell muffin every day? In the market. That's how you make a WH question. We still in a WH question. Now in WH question, who is the most special? Now the only differences is that we are going to use only one verb, which is a verb as or es for plural and singular noun. And as you can see in my example, siapa menjual kue bolu setiap hari di pasar? Now when just like I previously told you, when we are making a WH question, we are asking the question. Now since who is siapa, we know that the person who make the muffin is Leon, but we are asking who is making it. Now the correct answer is that when we are going to make who question is that, or my example is that, who sell muffin in the market every day? Leon sell the muffin in the market every day. Let us move on to the simple continuous tense. In simple continuous tense, this function is to tell what is happening right now. The key is now. Now, in the positive question is that you can see for my example is that Leon menjual kue bolu di pasar sekarang dengan happily, dengan gembira. Now, as you can see, we are using a copula and verb ing. Now, copula is an R, and verb ing that we will put in each verb and with ing. Now, for example, a punching or selling like that. Now, my question is that Leon menjual kue bolu di pasar sekarang dengan gembira. Now, since I'm using a singular noun and my answer to my example is that Leon is selling muffin happily in the market now. Like, now, in the negative one, the only differences is that in copula and verb ing, you just only put it not. Now, for example, is that is not punching or isn't punching or are not are not selling or aren't selling. Now, in my question is that the same is just only tidak menjual kue bolu di pasar sekarang dengan gembira. Now, my answer is that Leon isn't selling muffin happily in the market now. I'm using isn't because I'm using singular noun. In interrogative continuous tense, the only difference is that there is an auxil. Now, an auxil is that the auxil is or isn't for singular noun and are or aren't for plural noun. Now, the example is that apakah Leon menjual kue bolu di pasar sekarang dengan gembira? The answer is. Remember, auxiliary is the first. You need to see the stairs. Now, auxiliary is the first. So, is Leon selling? Verb ing. Happily is because adverb of manner is the first, and in the market adverb of place the second one, and the last is adverb of time now. Now the answer is Leon selling muffin happily in the market now? Now for the WH question continuous tense. Now in WH question the only difference is that we put the WH question is in the front and auxil is the second one. Now for the example of my question is gimana Billyon jual kue bolunya sekarang dengan gembira. Now since I'm using dimana, which is we know that Billyon is selling his kue bolu in pasar. Now since I'm asking, remember the question is like you're asking the question. Now since the question that I'm asking is dimana, and the result will be where is Leon selling muffin happily now? In the market. In WHQ, who, the only difference is that all the auxil is that we are going to use is only is or isn't. Now, for the example is in my example, siapakah yang menjual kue bolu di pasar sekarang dengan gembira? Since it who, it mean siapa, that we already know it's Leon. That since we are asking the question again, now the answer is that who is selling muffin happily in the market now? Third topic about stair A is simple past tense. Simple past tense is to describe event with a specific time, or you know when is the event happening. For example, you know when you have an event, you know where is the time, like yesterday or last Sunday or maybe 2 weeks ago, and etc. Now remember, you need to see the verb first. Now the verb that we are going to use is ed or verb to. Now for example, I sold. Now sold, the verb one of sold is sell, and we are going to use the second verb that mean the sell it's become sold, and punch is the verb one, and since we are going to use verb two, it will be punch. Now as you can see on my example, Leon menjual kue bolu di pasar dengan gembira kemarin. And since Leon know the specific time, that's why we are going to use past tense. Remember, past tense is to describe even with a specific time. You know when the event happening. Now the answer is Leon sold muffin happily in the market yesterday. Now as you can see the differences in past tense, negative past tense. If you see the verb, now the verb that we are going to use is that verb one. Now why is that we are going to use verb 1, but the positive that we are going to use verb 2. Now, as you can see, there is a word did, or maybe the negative one is didn't. Now, did is the verb 2 of do. Now, since do is the verb 1 of didn't, uh, in past tense, the verb has already been taken by didn't. Now, so the next verb is will be verb. Now, as you can see on my example is that Leon tidak menjual kue bolu di pasar dengan gembira kemarin. He's so sad. Now, the answer is that Leon didn't sell muffin happily in the market yesterday. Now, in the interrogative, yes, no, past tense. Now, the only difference is that the auxiliary. There is an auxiliary that we are going to put in front of the word. Now, the auxiliary is did and didn't for both noun, singular pronoun or plural noun. My goal is that apakah Leon menjual kue bolu di pasar dengan gembira kemarin? Nah, the answer is that since I'm using simple noun and which is the verb is that the auxiliary that we are going to use is did or maybe didn't. You may choose your own. I'm choosing did. Now, did Leah sell? Did Leon sell muffin happily in the market yesterday? Ladies and gentlemen, the only differences of past and WHQ is that first WHQ is put the first before auxiliary. Now, remember, there is a 5 WHQ. What is for the object? Who is for the person? And where is for the place? When is for the time? And why is to tell the reason. Now, since in my question is that I'm choosing kapan, so I need to erase the example. For the example is that the time that happened. Now, we already know in the previous question is that Leon is selling the cake yesterday. Now, since I'm using WHQ when, I need to erase the yesterday to become my answer. Now, kapan Leon menjual kue bolu di pasar dengan gembira? Now, the answer is that when did Leon sell muffin happily in the market? Yesterday. In WHQ who, now the verb will become verb 2 again. Now, if you see the example, siapakah yang menjual kue bolu di pasar dengan gembira kemarin? Since who is we're asking question is the person. Now, basically we already know who is selling the muffin. So we are going to ask again. So Leon will become the answer. Now, like who sold muffin happily in the market yesterday? Leon did. Topic of stair A is simple present perfect tense. Ladies and gentlemen, now simple present perfect tense is to describe something in time. Well, it's the same as past tense, but past tense is to describe specific time, but in present perfect tense it is describe something that's not specific. You don't know the time. Now, as you can see that the verb that we are going to use is verb 3, verb en, and there is an auxiliary in the verb. As you can see, if we use a singular noun, we are going to use has. And if we are going to use a plural noun, we are going to use. If you can see on my example is that I'm using a singular noun, which is John telah menjual kue bolu di pasar selama 5 hari. The English is that Leon has sold muffin in the market for 5 days. Negative, the only difference is that the auxiliary have not. Now, for example, is that has become has not or hasn't, have become have not or haven't. For example, Leon belum menjual kue bolu di pasar selama 5 hari. The English is that Leon hasn't sold muffin in the market for 5 days. In simple present perfect tense, interrogative, the only difference is that auxiliary is we will put the auxiliary first, and our auxiliary, if we choose singular noun, it will be has or hasn't, or if we choose plural noun, it will be have or haven't. Now, in my example, I choose singular noun, which is apakah Leon telah menjual kue bolu di pasar selama 5 hari? The English is that have Leon sold muffin in the market for 5 days? Now continue to simple present perfect tense WHQ. Now the difference is the same, that we put WHQ is in the first and before auxiliary. Now it's the same. The auxiliary is the same, and as you can see, the question that I choose for WHQ is di mana, which is where. Now, so in my question, where will become the answer? Let's see my example. Di mana Leon telah menjual kue bolu selama 5 hari? We know that Leon sell cake at the market. Now the answer is that where has Leon sold muffin for 5 days? In the market. Q for who. Now for who, that the auxiliary that we are going to use, both singular noun and plural noun, is has or hasn't. As you can see in the example is that siapa. Siapa. So that means Leon is the one who sell the muffin, but since we are using who, Leon will become the answer. For example, siapakah yang telah menjual kue bolu di pasar selama 5 hari? The answer in English is that who has sold muffin in the market for 5 days? Leon has. Topic in the last of stair A is that model tense. Model tense. Now in model tense, model have so many kind of model. For example, can, will, may, must, has or have to, or should. Now we are using model tense can, and you can see the verb have a symbol. Now this symbol is that the verb is the base and cannot be interrupted. Now the verb is must be verb 1 only. You cannot change it to be the verb 2 or the verb 3. Now let's come for the example. Now my example is that Leon bisa menjual kue bolu di pasar dengan gembira besok. Now my English is that Leon can sell muffin happily in the market tomorrow. Now for the negative model tense, the only difference is that there is a not in the model. Well, since we use can, then maybe cannot or can't. Now the example is that Leon tidak bisa menjual kue bolu dengan gembira di pasar besok. Now the answer of English is that Leon can't sell muffin happily in the market tomorrow. For interrogative yes or no question, the only difference is the first auxiliary is the first in the sentence. Now let's see for the example. Example is that apakah Leon bisa menjual kue bolu di pasar dengan gembira besok? The English is, can Leon sell muffin happily in the market tomorrow? Now in model tense WHQ, the only difference is still the same, which is the WHQ, it will be put in front of the auxiliary before the auxiliary. Now the example is that kapan, since I use where, when, kapan Leon bisa menjual kue bolu di pasar dengan gembira? Since we already know the answer, or when Billy will sell the cake happily, which is tomorrow, it will be the answer. Now, when can Leon sell muffin happily in the market? The answer is that tomorrow. For a who question, now for a who question, the only difference is that the modal and the verb are not used, not, and there's no auxiliary. And for example is that siapakah, since we are going to use who, since Billyon is a person We have to put him into the answer. Now, siapakah yang bisa menjual kue bolu di pasar dengan gembira besok? The English is that who can sell muffin happily in the market tomorrow? Now we are at stairs B, and the first is simple present tense. Now, in stepping the five stair B is sometimes used to construct English nominal sentence to describe status, condition, or things. Now, in simple present tense, as you can see, there are three tables and singular noun, plural noun, and plural noun. Now, in plural noun, I is the copula of I is am, and the plural noun for you we today is are, and the singular noun is. Now, complement. Now, complement is like in Indonesia is kalimat pelengkap or tambahan either kata benda or kata sifat. Now, as you can see in my example is that Luna adalah teman masa kecil saya di panti asuhan. Now, Luna is a singular noun. So, my English answer English is that Luna is my childhood friend in the orphanage. For simple present and negative, the differences is that your copula is added by not. For example, is that is become isn't or is not, am become am not, and are become aren't. Now, in my example is that Luna bukan teman masa kecil saya di panti asuhan. Now, my English is that Luna is not my child friend in the orphanage. Now, for the interrogative of simple present tense, the only difference is that we put the copula first, and for the singular we use is, and for the plural we use are. Now, as you can see in my example, apakah Luna teman masa kecil saya di panti asuhan? So, is Luna my childhood friend in the orphanage? In WHQ question and simple present tense, the only difference is that we put the WHQ in the first sentence. Now, you can see on my example, kenapa Luna teman masa kecil saya di panti asuhan. Now, since I'm using kenapa or why, my English answer is that why is Luna my child friend in the orphanage? Now, in WHQ question simple present tense who, there is no differences because it's the same as the previous, but the only thing is that when we are using I, the copula is am, and we are using you, we, they, the copula is are, and when we are using singular noun, the copula is. As you can see in my example, siapakah teman masa kecil saya di panti asuhan? Since Luna is a singular noun, so I'm going to use is copula, and my English answer is that who is my childhood friend in the orphanage. Now, the second therapy is that simple past tense. Ladies and gentlemen, in simple past and positive, as you can see for the NP1 singular noun, we use was for copula, and for NP1 for plural noun, we use were because singular noun describe one thing and plural noun describe two or more. Now, as you can see for my example, dulu tuh saya seorang pelayan di restoran itu. Now, my English since I use dulu saya, basically it's me. So I am a person, I'm alone, which means I'm a singular noun. So my English is that I was waiter in that restaurant. Now, for the differences of simple past and negative, when singular noun copula is from was to was not or wasn't, and for plural noun copula is were to were not. Now, as you can see for my example is that dulu saya bukan seorang pelayan di restoran itu. Now, my answer in English is that I wasn't a waiter in that restaurant. In simple past and interrogative, yes or no, The differences is that we put the copula in front to be the first sentence or to be the first stairs. And as you can see, the copula is when singular is was or wasn't, or in plural noun, the copula is were or weren't. Now, my example is that apakah dulu saya seorang pelayan di restoran itu? Now, my English answer is that was I waiter in that restaurant. For the WHU simple past tense, there's no differences with the interrogative, but we put the WHQ in front of the stair and they became the first sentence or the first tier. Now, for example, is that kenapa dulu kamu seorang pelayan di restoran itu? Nah, the English is that why? Since I use kenapa, why was you a waiter in that restaurant? For who WH question, for simple past tense, the only difference is that for all the singular noun and plural noun, we use the was copula. Now, as you can see on my example, siapakah since who is siapa, siapakah dulu seorang pelayan di restoran itu? My English answer is that who was a waiter in that restaurant. Number 3 is that simple present perfect tense. Now, simple present perfect tense positive. Now, the difference is from the past tense is that we use auxil when it's singular noun, we use has been. But for plural noun, we use have been. Now, for my example in simple present perfect tense positive is Leon sudah menjadi ketua kelas baru-baru ini. Now, my English answer is that Leon has been, since Leon is a person and he is alone or he is a singular person. Now, the auxiliary that I use is that has been. Now, the answer is that Leon has been the class president recently. Now, for the negative of simple present perfect tense is the only differences is when singular noun we use hasn't been, and for the plural noun we use haven't been. Now, for example is that Leon belum menjadi ketua kelas baru-baru ini. Now, the English answer is that Leon hasn't been the class president recently. Now, for the simple present perfect tense interrogative yes or no, the only difference is that we put the auxiliary in front of the sentence to become the first stair. Now, as you can see in my example is that sudahkah Leon menjadi ketua kelas baru-baru ini? My English answer is that hasn't Leon been the class president recently? For WHQ simple present perfect tense is the only difference is that we put the WHQ in front of the sentence and become the first stairs, and the opposite that we use is if singular noun is has or hasn't, and for plural is haven't or have. Now, for example that I use is that kapan sudah Leon menjadi ketua kelas? My answer is that when hasn't Leon been the class president? Since I asked about kapan, when. Now the answer is that when hasn't Leon been the class president? Recently, the answer. Now for WHQ, who? Now for all the singular noun and the plural noun must use auxiliary has. Now for example of my question is that siapa sih yang sudah menjadi ketua kelas baru-baru ini? Now, since siapa is who, and basically we already know who will be the president of the class, and that the Leon will become the answer. Now the question now is that the answer is who has been the class president recently? Leon. Number 4 and the last discussion is that model tense. In model tense, positive, the formula that you need to use in model have so much. You can choose whatever you want. For example, you want to choose will, you can choose will be, can be, should be, maybe, or must be. If you can see on my example is that novel baru di Lotus mungkin sangat murah. Now, the English answer is that new novel may be, since mungkin is maybe, uh, new novel may be very cheap at Lotus. Now for the model tense negative, the only difference is that the model is will not be, can't be, shouldn't be, may not be, or mustn't be. As you can see in my example, novel baru di Lotus mungkin tidak sangat murah. Now, as you can see, the English answer is that a new novel may not be very cheap at Lotus. Now, for model tense interrogative, now the only difference is that we put the model in front of the sentence to become the first there. Now, as you can see on my example is that mungkin novel baru di Lotus sangat murah, mungkin. Now, the English answer is that may new novel be very cheap at Lotus. Now for the model tense WHQ for who is the same for the WHQ normally. So the only difference is that we put who in the first sentence and become the first there. Now, and for singular noun, pronoun, the auxiliary must be used can. Now for examples, siapa yang uh, bisa sangat murah di Lotus? Who can be very cheap at Lotus? Right? I think that's all for my learning video. I'm very sorry if I have so many pronunciation. The way I bring the learning video is not very good, and I have so many mistakes on my learning video. I'm very sorry, and thank you for watching my video. And wabillahi taufiq walhidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.